Hi, my name is Steve Younger. I'm going to talk to you for about 10 minutes on the education system in Scotland and try and share with you some of the national perspectives from the point of view of government and of church. I'm a lecturer at the University of West of Scotland as part of the Scottish Baptist College campus, and I lecture a module on schools chaplaincy. I'm also the project worker 1 day a week for Christian Values in Education Scotland, again looking at school chaplaincy. And I've written a book as a guide for Scottish schools and for Scottish churches, again on chaplaincy. Let me share with you some national perspectives from the point of view of the Scottish Government. Education is totally devolved to our Parliament, so we're not governed by the Department for Education. It's Education Scotland that takes the responsibility for our curriculum. Now, the responsibility for the curriculum reflects the values that are set for the Scottish Parliament. These were inscribed in gold on the mace that is used in the Scottish Parliament: integrity, justice, wisdom, and compassion. I'll leave it to you to judge how well the Parliament and our government does on those four values. They're the core values for our schools, all our schools. We have 5,000 schools, roughly, across Scotland. 2,000 of these are primary schools and 357 are secondary schools. And all are governed by these same four values. Quick bit of background: we don't have church schools here as such. 10% of our schools are in what's called the Catholic sector. The other 90% are officially what's called non-denominational. Scotland has a secular system of education, but it is deeply rooted in a Christian ethos. And Christianity definitely has a favoured position. Christian heritage is acknowledged and welcomed and recognised broadly. Another major influence in Scottish education was the report prepared for UNESCO, authored by Jacques Delors. UNESCO looked at the best of European education, and Jacques Delors summarised the best in four strands. The best education, he said, should help us learn to live together, learn to know, learn to do, and learn to be. The central two of those you might expect of any education system. They're the curricular core: learning to know and learning to do. But he bracketed that with character issues: learning to live together and learning to be. And that has fed into our curriculum for excellence here in Scotland, built on integrity, justice, wisdom, and compassion. And you can see how those match up to the ideas of learning to be and learning to live together. Scotland also opted in for its education to the Global Competence Framework of the PISA rankings. And that looks at the acquisition of values and attitudes, as well as progress in skills and knowledge. So we very much have a system of education that is for character as well as for curriculum. And that's reflected throughout our curriculum for excellence. The key document is over 300 pages long, and it sets out four capacities, again reflecting wisdom, justice, compassion, and integrity. Our pupils then should learn to be successful learners, confident individuals, responsible citizens, and effective contributors. The curriculum is set out in 8 main curricular areas across 5 levels, depending on age and experience. So we don't follow the key stages that you have in England. It's a very similar structure in many ways. The Curriculum for Excellence document also sets out for each age level, for each capacity, for each curricular area, the required experiences and outcomes. And we always shorten that to E's and O's. The document also has a huge focus on health and well-being, with responsibilities across the whole curriculum. You might be interested to see that part of that is that we hope in our schools every pupil will understand and develop their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, as well as their social skills. Taking a government perspective, national perspective, summarising just briefly, within Education Scotland, we are 3 years into a huge governance review, looking at the way it's all organised and structured. Until now, Scottish education has been run on the ground by 32 unitary authorities, each with their own education committee, handling the local budget for school build, for teachers, for employment, for resources, and so on. Under the governance review, these 32 are put into 6 regional improvement collaboratives. The thinking is it saves money, it gives a collegial approach, it has some benefits, but at the moment it's increasing teacher workload. The same governance review affects our universities and colleges, and they feel, I think, that it's a retrograde step and it's given a loss of autonomy. In terms of national perspectives, Scotland is very aware of what we call the attainment gap, poverty-driven attainment gap. So the pupils at the lowest levels often fail to achieve as well as those at the highest levels. And that can be very much poverty related. A Pupil Equity Fund has been created, and that looks at local conditions, schools' achievement, and it gives extra funding from primary 1 up to 3rd year of secondary school. It's on a pro rata basis for schools that need it. Sounds good, but it often has given head teachers and senior management teams huge headaches. It comes with such a high level of accountability and with so many restrictions. Teacher workload in general, I think, is an issue, a problem. The EIS, the Educational Institute of Scotland, carried out a survey of teachers, and 60% 2 years ago said that their workload had increased dramatically, and that's only accelerating. That's led to problems in teacher recruitment and retention, as you might expect. What about the churches? I would hesitate to give a national perspective. Myself, I'm a Baptist pastor working part-time in a Baptist church. But I've also worked on the Education Committee of the Church of Scotland, the national church. I'm aware of training opportunities in the other denominations in Scotland too. What I've found thinking about the potential national perspective then of the church in Scotland is that there's a concern about a loss of influence and input. Historically, the Church of Scotland was very much involved in the creation of a national education system. And we still have on our education authorities and our unitary authorities religious representatives, always one Church of Scotland and one other denomination. But there's a sense of a growing loss of influence. The Church of Scotland 30 years ago had a full education department, fully staffed, funded, and that's now reduced with cost cutting, with redundancies. It's now an education and young people's task force, which is yet to meet effectively. I think the churches also feel that they have failed largely to grasp the opportunities for partnership with local schools. Our schools have a self-assessment framework called Higios, How Good is Our School? It's in its 4th incarnation and it encourages community partnership. I think our churches have been slow to take that up. We also have the secular challenge, the challenge of secularism. We work well with the Humanist Association, but there's a very strong and growing secular movement that would remove all religious and moral education and chaplaincy input as well. It would challenge the position of that. I think many in the churches are also concerned about relationships and sexual health teaching. They are very much aware that teachers are sometimes being asked to teach a curriculum that they themselves are not comfortable with. And the church feels that there's a curriculum coming in that it's a little anxious about. Now, that's a very quick tour of some of the basics, but it lets you see a national perspective, hopefully understand a little bit more of the Scottish situation. Please feel free to contact me if there's questions you have or things you'd want to know more about. The address is at the bottom of the screen there, steveyounger@uws.ac.uk. Take care. Good to see you.